Good evening, I'm Devika Devan and you're watching Newsx. Today on the broadcast, three very special guests join us. I have with me Mr. Mudassir Dar, Mr. Wajahat Farooq Bhatt and Ms. Anika Nazir. They're all members as well as researchers of the Save Youth, Save Future Foundation. You must be wondering why they're here. Well, they've published a very important study titled Unraveling the Truth, a critical study of unmarked and unidentified graves in the Kashmir Valley. I will not pretend to be an expert on this subject, and therefore I will get straight to the interview. Let me start with Ms. Anika Nazir. Ms. Nazir, the first question that comes to my mind when, of course, I meet everyone here is if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where are you from, and what motivated the three of you to undertake this study on such a subject?
My name is Anika Nazir. I'm a social activist and the Women's Wing President of Save Youth, Save Future Foundation. I'm basically from district Kupwara, but I have done my schooling from Srinagar and I live there only. So I have joined this organization around 6-7 years ago. So since then, we all are working together on a social change. I have been more into social activism and I have worked on different aspects of the society and social issues, be it drug addiction, be it women empowerment, be it social, be it theme-based these programs and all for children, for youth, for women in different colleges, schools. So that's what we have done in Save Youth, Save Future Foundation so far. There are much more work. All is on our website. If you can go through that.
I want to understand from women, children, and essentially working with the living is what you were doing.
Yeah.
How did your focus then shift to this conducting an empirical study of unmarked and unidentified graves?
Yeah, basically, we had been actually hearing these all things up in the past, all about these graves. So far from our ancestors, from our neighbors, from our friends especially. So as to bring out a reality into this all, what these graves are all actually about, we thought of just, going deeper into these aspects and to bring out a clarity as to whom they should belong to actually. So in the month of December, I feel 2018, we had started out this project with a just theme of just, bringing out the clear reality into the subject as to whom these unmarked graves belong to. And this is right today that we have just actually did. So the results are clear out in the public domain now to who they belong actually to.
Okay, but before we come to who they belong to, Mr. Bhatt, I want your opinion on this as well. Why did you decide to join such a study?
So basically, we all are from Kashmir, and we have seen these things. We have seen, so many discussions regarding the same topic, and definitely, out of curiosity, and we really want to, with our study, to clarify these things that who actually they are, and this was the question in our, in our society, that ये है कौन actual में? So we really want to, find answer, and finally we find it. And yesterday actually, we documented all the graveyards across the 4 districts of Kashmir, and 93% graves are documented, documented, and it's not only we three, and there are other researchers who are working with our team, and some some field-based researchers, some as guides, from local villages. There are so many people जो इस initiative में हमारे साथ रहें.
Okay, interesting, because from a layman's perspective, this is a very unique subject. I'm sure as researchers, not everyone thinks about one day we're going to go and study graves per se, right? There are so many other topics in the world as well, but it's really interesting to know that this is something, as you've said, was a part of societal conversation.
Yeah.
That growing up, you heard stories, maybe there were discussions on family dinner tables or amongst friends, and there's so much that you've heard about it, that it was important for you to go into these areas yourself and conduct this study. So it's called Unraveling the Truth. Now that's a very heavy term. Truth, as we all say, is mostly subjective, right? We always say there are two sides to each coin. But I want to understand firstly from you, what's the biggest truth that you have found through this study?
The biggest truth is like this, what it used to be, the term that unknown, unmarked, mass graves and all that, the concept of that. So that was, brought clearer who these graves actually belong to. That was the biggest truth that we, researched upon, who these graves actually belong to. Because in the past, what it used to be, the conversation has had been like that, these people, these graves belong to the Kashmiri civilians, and that they have been the civilian casualties. That's why there are the mass graves and everything like that. So the biggest truth is that the findings of these research are like, most of these graves do belong to the militants and everything like that. Most of these, we had conducted this research into the four particular districts of North Kashmir that are, close to the vicinity of LOC, and where there has been the infiltration and everything like that. So most of these graves, around 63% of the graves do belong to the Pakistani militants who had actually crossed over the LOC and everything
So
like that.
over the 4 districts that you studied,
Yeah.
you're saying that the majority of these unmarked graves belong to militants from Pakistan.
Yeah, this is what I say. This is what we say. This is what our research say. Exactly.
Okay, Ms. Nazir, can you shed some further light on these numbers? I believe you've studied 4,056 graves.
graves, yeah.
So can you tell us exactly what districts and then what was the overall percentage? How did you categorize your findings?
So that is the most important thing of this research, is that the categorization of the graves, we have done the categorization, the clear categorization of the graves. That is what brings the clarity to the subject. When you have the actual categorization of each and every single grave occupant, you come to that point that you form the base of the truth. What you said, you were
Yes.
talking about the truth. Truth is what has factuality and all factual and scientific data from the researcher's point of view. So we have visited 373 graveyard sites in 4 districts, that is Bandipora, Ganderbal, district Kupwara, and district Baramulla. So all these have one particularity, that is they they are near the LOC areas, which are near to LOC, and which have the historically, if we see the conflict of Kashmir, there have been the highest concentration of cross-border infiltration also.
Okay.
And one more thing, the Kupwara district that has the highest concentration of graves.
Of these unmarked graves.
Yeah, more than 2,000. So in these 373 graveyard sites, we have found 4,056 graves,
Okay.
in which 2,493 are foreign militant graves, and 1,200
2,493.
93. Yeah.
2,493 are foreign militant graves, is
Yeah.
what this study claims.
Yeah,
What's
that
the
is
next
around
figure?
some 64% of the total graves documented.
Okay.
And local militants are 1,208.
Okay.
276 are actually unmarked graves. They have no records,
So
no
you were not able
testimonies.
to, through your study,
Yeah.
Exactly.
able to find anything related to those
Nothing.
graves at all. So
No
no
local
families
testimony.
claiming them. No one. Nothing.
No local testimonies, and no official record available.
Okay.
Nothing available. 9 are civilian graves, and 70 graves are tribal invaders. It is this set of graves, the 70, they are from the conflict of 1947, the tribal invasion, the Pathan invaders
Yes,
have come
yes.
to this side and had the fight with the
Yes,
at
yes,
that time.
yes.
So this is the main
How many
truth.
graves go back to 47?
70 graves.
70 graves going back to 1947, but they were still to date unmarked, or there was not enough information about them. Is this something new that's come out in your study?
Exactly.
The categorization has come to light in our study categorically, because when we say that there should be a clarity on the subject, this clarity comes from the proper scientific data and proper factual data. The factual data about our report is that it has the proper categorization.
Okay.
The categorization of these 70 graves, it is from the 1947 conflict. So we cannot put it into the unmarked graves section because
Right.
there is a lot of methodology we have adopted that led us know to this
Okay.
point.
So I want to bring Mr. Bhatt into on that point. Again, as a layperson, how do I know that I can trust the findings of your study versus any other literature on this subject in the past? Because ultimately, like I said, when we're talking about the truth, as researchers, I'm sure you want it to be as objective as possible. So even if I was someone who's read different literature in the past, I should be able to read your study and then convince myself and make up my own mind otherwise, right? That's the point here. So I want to understand from you, what was that one or two methods that you used which made sure that your study is really objective and without any bias?
So basically, as you earlier said, that when we are talking about study and research, especially research study, so first thing हम जब देखते हैं, that is the methodology of the subject, and we have seen that जो हमारा जो basic जो when we started this we call it in research term, it's a triangulation of methodology. And initially it was a fieldwork study when we identified these graveyards and grave with the efforts
Basic
of
desk work we did.
with the help of local population. And then the second thing is the local testimonies from the grave diggers and the local population, local Awqaf committees. And the third thing was that it was very important that we visited those areas जहाँ पे encounter हुए थे, and we
Cross-referencing them.
I can
So
say
you
that
matched the local
we matched the
testimony
local
with
testimonies,
the-
grave diggers, and the
Okay.
area that when actually it happened. And lastly, and we re-verify with the government. We can say
Official
that the
records.
local official records, and we also re-verify those records when we are talking about the government, the local administration records, local FIR and all that. We also cross-verify those records, and finally, we got to know that we can at this stage we can categorize these graveyards in 5 parts. Number one, as Anika earlier said, that in one it was a foreign militants.
Yeah.
There are approximately,
Which was the maximum number.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what is the in ground एक narrative चल रहा था. There was only one जो previous reports थी, whosoever it was, जो भी इन लोगों के बारे में बता रहे, that was that most of the grave जो भी वहाँ पे unmarked grave है, and they are totally एक ही categorize में रख दिया गया कि that they are all unmarked graves, and concept ये था कि that they are all civilians. But जब हमारी जो categorization की with the actual triangulation method, and first category is that this foreign militants. Second was the local militants. The local militants were killed in different in encounters and all that. Third was the 276 unmarked graves. Anika already explained it, but I just want to add one more thing here, that neither the local population is aware about कहाँ से आए वो graves, किन्होंने वो दफनाए वहाँ पे, and neither there is any information, so nobody is aware about them. Neither we can guess, because research is not up to guesswork. So
Yes.
we need exact आपके पास authentic proof होने चाहिए. And the fourth is 9 civilians, जो कि local civilians से उन graveyards में हमें मिले. And the 70, this again I can say that the जो 1947 में यहाँ पे जो tribal फाइटर्स आए थे, इन्वेडर्स आए थे उस टाइम पे, एंड वो उनकी हमें, एंड वो ग्रेवयार्ड्स भी जो ट्राइबल की बात कर रहे थे, दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि दैट इस मेथोलॉजी में सबसे बड़ी जो इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग है दैट इज कि जो इन ट्राइबल्स को भी बोला जाता था, दैट इज दे आर आल्सो कश्मीरी सिविलियंस, बट एक्चुअल में दे आर नॉट सिविलियंस, दे आर द ट्राइबल जो फाइटर्स 1947 में आए थे, एंड दे आर बड़ी देयर. So this is the thing.
Interesting. And of course, we've done a lot of work in talking about this tribal invasion methodology that was used in 1947 by the Pakistan Army.
Yeah, also adding to this point that whenever we go for the methodology, we have to be very cautious about the surveys, because at times what happens that you have a large area, but sampling, how can you do the sampling for a lot of people?
Yeah.
So village wise and district wise or the people wise, we have also adopted the data collection methods by, we have adopted this separate sampling strategy, under which we did this district specific one. Then we did this snowball sampling. We did this targeted sampling also. People who were surrendered militants, people who were, you had people who had the who were part of these burial practices and all that, as Wajahat mentioned. So coming to some of the key findings, there is a lot of work of 6 years. So there is a pre-discussion before we started in 2018 December. Even before that, there was a pre-discussion in our researchers group.
Right.
So a lot of desk work previously. Then we come to this point, first of all, that we will start now working, and we are okay, and we are now ready to start our work, to go to different districts, or at times spend 1 week in a same village, or 2 weeks in a same district, or 3 months in a one district. So there is a lot of efforts and energy we have put in this over these 6 years.
So, Mr. Dhar, I want you to elaborate on that. In these 6 years, what are some of the biggest challenges and obstacles that you faced in putting this study together? The biggest challenge being that you're looking at grave sites, right? So there's really no one to give you an actual proper account, or someone that you can just grab an official and ask them, because nobody had, as you've mentioned, proper records.
Yeah, exactly. Identifying those graveyards at the first was the biggest obstacle in our study in that way, because reaching out to far-flung areas and just identifying them and just talking to the locals and motivating these locals to actually getting their confidence into this all, so that they may trust us and just say all about these unmarked graves. I think they identifying that and just making the locals to speak to us and getting these then cross-verified with different of the testimonies, whether that is the local awqaf, whether that are the surrendered militants, whether that is that grave diggers or something like that. To make them to talk and to visit them and to just make them to understand what this all objective is all about. Those were a few of the challenges that we had just over the years faced, and more importantly, just the data we had just collected and that just cross-verifying it with the official data that most of the times we were unable to get because of a lot of reasons that we couldn't grab all the official data. But to get that data and just cross-verifying it with the local testimonies that we had just got were some of the biggest challenges that we had got over the years, and that made us to go over for a long 6 years to make it authentic in that way, to cross-verify each and everything, to cross-verify each and every of the statement that we had just got, whether from the locals, whether from the local these grave diggers, whether from the local awqaf committees, or the local version in itself. So cross-verifying them and just to visit those graveyards, because most of these graveyards were at the periphery of the districts. In that way, to visit them, to make the people speak all about this, where some of the most.
And I'm assuming also lesser and lesser population in those districts anyway, right? For you to interview and for you to get any information from. Those are not very densely populated areas anyway. It's not like you've come to Delhi to do a survey.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Ms. Nazir, I also want to understand from your point of view, as a woman part of this study, how was that experience? Because going into, like I said, these are not very densely populated areas. Going into some of these places, did you feel that your presence maybe helped somewhere getting that trust with the locals? What was it like? I just want to understand from a female point of view.
In my case, it was not that challenging as a female, because wherever I go, people consider me as a kid. So they consider me their young daughter, and most of them has actually told me that you look like our daughter. So you are similar to this, you're similar to that. So, and my way of talking to people is I mingle with them. I mingle with people wherever and whenever. When it comes to local populace, maybe in institutions or within the organization, I have set some boundaries. Okay, I will discuss this much, or I will go to this far. But when it comes to local populace, I mingle with people and I have that friendly nature also, which has helped me in this research to get closer to people and have their trust in me so that they can share their version. Also, mainly the females who usually shy away from such things whenever somebody comes to them for an interview, and an interview like this.
Yes.
So I didn't keep it as an interview and I'm somebody and I'm doing some research. I rather made it like it's a conversation between two females.
Yes.
So talking about the past and talking about the present also.
So I want to understand from you, Mr. Bhatt, any conversation that you had over these 6 years that's really stayed on with you during one of your surveys, or some house that you visited, some village that you visited, and you had some conversation which really had a personal impact on you, which you probably didn't think that, okay, I'm going to be having such a conversation while I'm doing this study.
There are so many examples, but as I said earlier, that we mentioned everything. Wherever we go, wherever we interacted with the people, whether it's female section or male section, बच्चे हो या बूढ़े हो, and whosoever it was, everything we mentioned in our book. So I would love that please go through the book and you will get the idea exactly.
Yes, absolutely. But I want to understand from you also, कोई ऐसी anecdote या story या कोई conversation जो उसके बाद you felt like, okay, this is a different perspective. I didn't think of this aspect.
Dated back to 2022, I feel like it was February 2022. In that way, I had just visited the graveyard there in Baramulla. So one of the family person was like that. What I used to get, like, I found a militant of my own area in that village, and when I came back, most of the people used it not to be like that. They were of the opinion that he has disappeared, he has crossed the LOC and things like that in that way. So when I came back, I just reached out to his parents that a man has been here, the whom you were just saying that he has been disappeared, he has been killed, and he has been things like this. And that is one of the wonderful conversation that I had with his family, with his relatives and everything like that, that they actually got to know who the man he is and where he is buried. And this is the one of the impact of the conversation that I had.
So you took that information back to your family yourself?
Back to the family, and they could actually identify where their son or their relative is actually buried in. They were having no idea otherwise where the man is actually. But when we documented it all about, we just got the local version there from the gravedigger and the local OPCOP committee. And then when we cross-verified it with the official data, that confirmed that the man is, that belongs to Pulwama. I'm actually basically from Pulwama. And I said out to his family that your son is just buried there. When they were making it like that, he has been disappeared, he has been, killed, and I wouldn't know the whereabouts of the man. He had been tortured and something like that. But in fact, he has been a militant here, and he was killed up in the vicinity of the LOC and then buried up there.
Wow. So how does one deal with that information? I mean, I'm wondering that parents who've been maybe looking for their child for so many years, and they've been, I'm sure
that way. The thing is, this conflict has affected each and every single home of the Kashmir.
So we just, I just heard from Mr. Dar here as well, but I want to get your perspective, Mr. Bhatt. What was it like? Any emotional moment that happened, or any moment of catharsis for you? Any family that you met?
I mean, it's not like that any emotional. Jahan pe hame, every moment was emotional. And secondly, there is one graveyard in Shri Baramulla. There is approximately 274 like the graves, and majority of the most of the people were local militants, and they were killed in different encounters and with some foreign militants. And today, their families are coming there, and उन्होंने कुछ बोर्ड बना दिए उनके कि they are aware about that कब ये इनकाउंटर हो गए थे. जब हम उनसे बात भी की थी, yes, इस दिन वो मारे गए, मतलब इनकाउंटर हुआ था उनको. And they are aware about कि yes, they joined some militant ranks, and वो अभी भी वहाँ पे आते हैं, वहाँ पे जाते हैं. And secondly, I will add one more thing here. एक story है, and it's Baramulla Sheri, and where is साथ में एक village है फतेहगढ़. एक बशीर अहमद करके एक इंडिविजुअल थे, एंड उनके 2 भाई साथ में थे, एंड जब when we go through the study, हमने वो एक वही फतेहगढ़ ग्रेवयार्ड में एक 8 लोकल ग्रेव्स पाए थे एंड दे वर ऑल लोकल मिलिटेंट्स एंड बशीर अहमद बट आई थिंक बशीर अहमद लोन and he was killed by the local militants. He was a civilian, was killed by the जो 9th civilian है, वो 9th civilian में वो भी है, and he was killed by the local militants. And then after, what happened? When I visited, उनके घर पे जब मैं गया, and they told some other thing. मतलब क्या हुआ उनके साथ? बोला कि yes they came, and हमारी गलती ये थी कि that we said no. एंड जब उनको मारा गया था देन वी बरीड उनको फिर वहाँ पे दफनाया गया था एंड लेटर ऑन बशीर के तो 2 भाई थे एंड दे कैम बैक एंड उनको डिसअपियर्ड किया गया एंड दे आर हैप्पी. वो किस बात पे खुश है दैट बशीर अहमद की जो बॉडी है वो सामने उनके घर पे ग्रेवयार्ड में है. दैट ओके ठीक है, बट द थिंग इज कि दैट द अदर उसके जो 2 भाई थे उनको डिसअपियर्ड किया गया था वहाँ पे जो मिलिटेंट्स ने इन 1992 में एंड उनकी बॉडी अभी तक नहीं मिली एंड वो सोच रहे कि काश वो बॉडी मिल जाए हमें. सो देयर आर सो मेनी केसेस. जब हम वहाँ पे गए, आई एम नॉट सेइंग, आई एम नॉट क्लेमिंग, आई एम नॉट डिफेमिंग एनीवन, आई एम नॉट सपोर्टिंग एनीवन, बट ये है कि दैट आपने जैसे बताया कि कुछ स्टोरीज है जहाँ पे देखा. सो दे आर एक्सेप्टिंग इस हमारा बेटा मरा गया, इट्स ओके, बट बॉडी सामने है. बट अदर थिंग इज़ दैट उनके 2 जो बेटे थे वो डिसअपियर्ड किए गए, उनकी अभी तक बॉडी लाश ही नहीं मिली उनको एंड उस गम में रो रहे कि काश बॉडी मिल जाती एंड दे वर डिसअपियर्ड बाय द लोग सम मिलिटेंट आउटफिट्स इन 1993. सो देयर आर सो मेनी थिंग्स.
Wow. Ms. Nazir, anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I was talking about the official data of this conflict, that more than 14,000 civilians have been killed in this conflict, have been the victims of this conflict. And not only them, the official data also quotes that 5,356 security personnel also and 22,000 militants. So when we are stating the data, they are not just numbers, they are humans we are talking about.
Right.
So each and every single family and the person who is associated with one family has also the extended families. So that's why when I said that each and every single family of the Kashmir has been affected by this conflict, that's what I mean. Exactly, and the numbers can go also high because this is the data of 4 districts only. There are other 6 districts in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right.
And then there is a Jammu division also, like Poonch, Doda, Kishtwar, Bhadarwah, and all these districts. They have also seen such sort of, maybe little, but they were also the part of this conflict. So if we extend our report and our research to all these districts and both the Kashmir division and the Jammu division together, the numbers can go very high.
Well,
Due to the lack of resources, we just managed these 4 districts.
4 districts, and that also took us 6 years.
We will definitely do further research across the Jammu and Kashmir, surely.
well, hopefully, and I think once everyone gets to read your study, they get their hands on the paper, there will be more and more people who will hopefully reach out to support the Save Youth, Save Future foundation and help
That's
you
what
in
we hope
this
for. We are
cause.
hoping for that all.
Somewhere I've gotten the answer to my last question to you, but I still want you to tell me, what are you hoping this study will achieve, or what impact are you hoping it will have?
We are actually hoping that the world should actually know, because there have been a lot of narratives that have been actually pulling about these unmarked, unknown, and mass graves in Kashmir particularly. We just intend to bring out a clarity to the world audience, to the global audience, to our own nation, and to the Kashmiris in particular, who these people are actually all about.
Mm-hmm.
We want the truth to actually come out, because there are many generations who had been actually believed on this as if these are the civilians who had been actually killed by the security forces, because that had been the version that we had been getting up in the past, and we used to believe on that thing. And most importantly, Kashmiris are the particularly the young generation that had actually got affected by these all things when it comes to the set of narratives and all other things. I want the world and Kashmiris particularly to grab this information all about this, what the reality about these unmarked graves is all about. They don't
Okay.
belong to the civilians, they belong to the foreign militants and something like that. We had just got the classification of the graves, we had just come up with what these graves do actually belong to. We came up with this very small number of graves, that is 276. That we kept to be unmarked, and those of the graves, there was no official data, there was no local testing, nobody knew all about those graves, who they actually are all about. But rest of the graves that are quite marked in that way, that are quite identified in that way, and the world should actually know who these graves actually belong to. Kashmiri audience should actually, grab it, what this
Yes.
information is all about, and they should actually, the narratives that they had been actually accepting upon, what this is all about.
Okay.
They had been like this and like that. The reality is this: they belong to the foreign militants, they belong to the local civilian militants, and everything like that.
Okay, Mr. Bhatt, what are you hoping that this study of yours achieves?
So basically, when we started it, and it was always in our mind, why ये graveyards क्यों यहाँ पे है? And finally, आज हमें पता चला कि that majority of the graves are from foreign militants. They are foreign militants, and then we also again that this question raised in my mind that क्यों यहाँ पे है? And कहीं ना कहीं there are people who are responsible. Anika just mentioned the 14,000 casualties has been done.
Yes.
They were all Kashmiri civilian. They were killed in militant attacks. And to sum up, and 22,000 people were killed. They were all militants. And to all, the simple thing is that कहीं ना कहीं इसकी वजह से when we are talking about lasting peace in Kashmir, जो एक हमेशा से एक मकसद था हमारा, कहीं ना कहीं इस चीज़ से रुका हुआ था. इन 22,000 जो मिलिटेंट्स थे, या ये जो ग्रेव्स वगैरह जो है, तो एक नैरेटिव की वजह से जो लास्टिंग पीस में एक दरार आई थी, दैट पीपल वाज ऑलवेज टॉकिंग अबाउट कि कौन है ये, एंड कहीं ना कहीं देयर वाज अ काइंड ऑफ कोई क्लोजर करने वाला नहीं था. एंड डेफिनेटली इट वाज दैट लेट्स क्लोजर दिस टॉपिक, लेट्स क्लोजर दिस विद फैक्ट्स. And definitely it was our aim, and finally we identified this 274 graves, unmarked graves. And we also want that, since हमारे पास कोई exact data नहीं उनके बारे में कि that who actually they are, but
Right.
we recommended that उनकी भी एक there should be a DNA testing on graveyards की, on graves की, that who actually they are.
Okay.
People, मतलब we want to know that, the people of Kashmir want to know that. And definitely वो पता होना चाहिए with DNA testing and all that.
Okay, Ms. Nazir, I'll leave the last word with you. What are you hoping?
Forming the strong base for clarity, and also through our recommendations, our motive is that reconciliation and healing, it doesn't begin without truth. So bringing this truth in front of the people, we want a complete reconciliation. Whether anyone was militant or civilian or anything, they are still the emotions of every family has been hampered through this conflict. So everyone deserves that reconciliation. Everyone deserves that healing. So by forming the strong base of the information, we want that healing to begin. We want that reconciliation to begin for the people of Jammu and Kashmir especially.
Okay, and I think that's a great point to end the conversation here, and hopefully set the course for a new conversation in the days to come. And hopefully people who are watching this interview will be now more curious to go and read their findings and understand what is the truth that they've managed to unravel over the past 6 years. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us at Newsx today.
Thank you.
Thank you.